Division round in the National Football League, NFC East. Stand up, man. Dude, NFC East has made they're everything that the AFC West wasn't this year that everybody thought they were going to
That's
be.
what they thought it would be. 3 teams in the playoffs.
Bro, hey, NFC went off this year, man. Props to you guys. Definitely no matter what happens in this playoffs, Big Blue, fly Eagles, fly, and Cowboys, they need to be proud of what they have done in that division. And Washington's on the come up too. It's not like Washington was horrible, man. They were supposed to be terrible, and Washington was like a 500 ball club too. So
They
that
almost made the
division is back.
playoffs.
They almost made the playoffs. Real shit. So Big Blue undresses the Vikings. You and I have been talking about how bad the Vikings are. That is a paper champion. We don't need to discuss them any further. They're the most fraudulent team in the National Football League. Big Blue looks great. Daniel Jones has now been named Vanilla Vic for what he did. Daniel Jones made $50 million in that game.
You think so?
Daniel Jones' contract is going to be predicated on what happened in that game. I'm from New York, so I talk to Giant fans all the time. Bro, they're fired up. And the Giants, a lot of people think they got a shot in this game. I am not one of them. I'm going to go on record as saying right now that even with Jalen Hurts' shoulder and them not playing as well the last couple of games heading into the end of the season and them peaking a little bit early, that the Eagles are going to destroy this team tonight. A couple reasons why. Number one, I do not trust the Giants wide receivers. Okay, you're going against Darius Slay and James Bradbury. You're not going against these bums that were in the back end of the Vikings. Those guys were bagging groceries last week. Those guys are terrible. That Vikings defense is horrific. That's number one. Number two, this is a real home field advantage. This game is starting late. Whose idea was it to have New York fans in Philly after dark? That's a mistake. Someone may die. Have you ever been to Link? Philadelphia.
No.
I got friends from out there, man. Germantown, Mount area. Bro, it's real. It's real out there. They throw snowballs at batteries at Santa Claus. Okay? So, in order for the Giants to win this game, they're going to have to control the clock. They're going to have to run the ball to get Lane Johnson back in Philadelphia. I think that there's a lot of questions surrounding Jalen Hurts right now, and I think he just shows out. They're going to try to test that shoulder. I think he's going to run all over the place. I know Big Blue's defense has been better. I know Ada's a lot of points. But when I see the Eagles play with a purpose, they destroy whoever they play right now. And yes, they've taken a huge jump from last year. And yes, this is the playoffs. But A.J. Brown on one side, Devonta Smith on the other, Goddard in the middle. I think Miles Sanders has a humongous day today. I just think the Eagles will be too much for them. They're home. That crowd will be into it. Anytime the Eagles have gone into the playoffs, galvanized, gone to the Super Bowl, go look at any of those games they've played in the playoffs. That home crowd, it's like the NFC version of Arrowhead. They are going to go nuts today. I think the defense will be too much. I think everybody is gassed off Big Blue. Dable had a great season. They had a great season. And would I give Daniel Jones a long-term deal? I don't know if I would. I think a long-term deal in my mind would rest on how he plays tonight. If he finds a way to win this game tonight, blank check. But I just don't see it happening. I think that the Eagles are destined to go to the Super Bowl this year. I think they're the best team in the NFC. I know everybody likes the Niners. I don't love the Niners that much because of Purdy. I think that the Cinderella slipper may fall off him eventually. And they've just been the best team in the NFC all year. Now, could they lay an egg? Yes, but are the Giants prone to scoring a lot? The Giants have only scored 27 points this year. That's their high for the year. Dude, teams score that and a half. You're going to have to do more than ball control versus the Eagles. They're explosive. I think they go off today. I think they cover the 8-man. Home dogs pay dividends. But when you're in the playoffs and you're laying points and you're the best team basically in the league for most of the season, a team like the New York Giants is not supposed to go in there and win that game. And I just don't see it happening tonight. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. Speaking about Daniel Jones, it's kind of interesting because I wouldn't pay him more than $40 million a year, but that's what
He's good.
That's what Derek Carr is making, and if you win playoff games, you have to feel like you got to make at least much as that. So Giants
You're
are in a
gonna
pretty
have to
weird
pay him.
spot. Yeah, they're in a weird spot. I wouldn't personally, but I don't
I
know.
don't
The
know if
guy
I
just won
would
a
either.
playoff game, so
He's
we'll see how he
serviceable.
plays today. We'll see. I mean, he is, a mobile quarterback, which is definitely dangerous, and they use him very well in that
Mhm.
scenario. And he looked like a really good passer last week. Like you have to
He
give him
looked
credit.
great
He looked
last
like
week, but
yeah.
is it more
It's
about what the Vikings weren't versus what he was? You
Well,
see
I
what I
guess that's what we'll
mean?
find out tonight. 8 points is a lot for me. I don't know. I think I'm going to put some action on the Giants here. I just think whenever you have a division rivalry, no matter what the storylines coming into it is, it's just going to be a dogfight every time you have a division rivalry, especially in the playoffs. We already saw that against the Bills and the Dolphins. That game wasn't supposed
Mhm.
to be close, and I didn't think it was going to be. I put a bet on the Bills,
Yeah,
and it's
me
just
too.
something in the air when two teams that are so familiar with each other play. I don't remember what their regular season matchups were. I feel like they were kind of wonky at some point, but I don't know. I'm going to take the Giants. I don't expect them to win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I'm just going to take that juju when it comes to these kinds of matchups and say that the Giants are going to do something wacky. Maybe like there's going to be a pick or something there's not supposed to be. Just one of those things can keep it within 8 points. So that's a lot,
It's a
and
lot, man.
for a
It is a
playoff game
lot.
too.
It's a
Yeah, and
lot, but
for a team that's as competent as the Giants, not better than the Eagles, but competent. They're not
they
just going
got
to
good
roll
coaching.
over.
They're
I
well
feel like
coached.
that. I feel like that. They've
They're
been
well coached.
they are. They're probably the most well coached team in the league.
Yeah, they're well coached. Dable has done really good job. Let me ask you a question. To just go off on a tangent really quick. Who's your coach of the year?
It's Kyle Shanahan to me, and it's not close. I feel like there's no way that you can't say it's anybody else. Going through 3 quarterbacks and playing for the number one seed is insane, especially when you consider okay, yeah, Trey Lance gets hurt and it's kind of understandable. You got Jimmy G. Like very few teams have that situation in the league, but he goes down and they got to go 4 games with literally Mr. Irrelevant, right? That's what he's always going to be known as. But he's obviously, I don't know, the kid looks good, but I can't imagine that, Brock Purdy shows up to the Las Vegas Raiders and this guy isn't starting the next week because he plays so bad. Versus Kyle Shanahan getting this guy to throw 300 and 3 tutties in a playoff game. It's when I see that, I can't give the award to anybody else.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a different route. I do like Kyle Shanahan. I think he's done well, but Kyle Shanahan has weapons, you know what I mean, and you could do a lot when you have George Kittle, CMC, Brandon Ayuk. You got great players, Nick Bosa. I mean, I got Trent Williams. I could go on and on and on. My coach of the year is Dan Campbell. It's not even close. This is a man that took the Lions from absolute dog shit to almost making the playoffs. The guy swept the Packers, who were supposed to be, the leaders of the North, and that they're on their way. I mean, with a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, a banged up, running back, or Jamal Williams has a 15, 16 touchdowns. Aiden Hutchinson looks like not a rookie to me. Galvanize this team. This team would run through a wall for Dan Campbell, and I don't see how it could be anyone else other than him or Brian Dable, because like we just said, Dable's done a really good job with the Giants. They weren't going to pick up that fifth option on Daniel Jones. And now they're in a quandary on what to do with him. And if he plays well tonight, you have to sign the guy, whether you think he sucks or not. So that's the way I would go. But I do hear what you're saying about the Giants. 8 is a lot. I just think the Eagles know that the Cowboys are rising. We saw how the Niners stomped out the Seattle Seahawks. It's their turn to put their stamp on the playoffs and let everybody know that, hey, man, we're not going anywhere. We're still here. And I think the addition of A.J. Brown has opened up everything for them, and I just think they roll tonight. I'm going to say final score 31-13.
Wow.